just or unfair.
He couldn't control his daughter, and she was running wild, and if she got pregnant, it was just an unthinkable thing.
And I feel that I want to be talking about something like a Bernardo's home or a connection to a children's home.
And when she became so irrational, her father had her certified as suffering from adolescent insanity.
I just get the feeling as though I'm being taken through dark wooden doors.
He had the money to pay for a very expensive asylum.
I get the sense that I'm being asked to talk about a letter or part of a letter. There is a paragraph or a passage written to the side that doesn't seem to quite fit in with the rest of the letter.
The very first letter that my grandmother wrote when she was in the asylum, she does divide the letter up by quoting a beautiful poem by Shelley.
As I look at her and her father together, I don't like that feeling. I don't have a good feeling about it.
One of the notes the doctors were writing about my grandmother was that she spoke in a most unladylike fashion, and in fact in the most vulgar terms about her father.
Although I feel there's a love from her towards her father, it's like a corrupted love or a distorted kind of love.
Did he ever do anything to her that was inappropriate?
Over the course of many years, this lady wrote hundreds of letters.
That's exactly what she did, and they didn't get sent. They were sent to her father or just put straight in her file.
And would often have to wait very long periods of time for any of them to be replied to, and in fact in many cases some of them were never replied to at all.
That's amazing.
Now, the vaguest hope that she had found a thread,
Yeah.
and she would write a letter.
She could write all she wanted. No one got to read them.
I get the feeling that some records got destroyed in a fire.
I went to the Wellcome Institute in London and asked for some particular records, and the very words that the man used were, "I'm afraid those were all destroyed in a fire."
I wonder whether there was a court case involved. It just indicates the fact that there's like a process of law.
She did get to see a commissary of lunacy who immediately released her, because you had to have two doctors sign that she was a lunatic, and her father had got two of his friends to sign, and they'd never seen her. But the tragedy is that she went back home. She found her mother dead in the bath on Christmas Day.
In the bath at the wrong time of the day. Who had the heart condition?
The official version of what happened to my great-grandmother was that she had a heart condition.
She's giving me the smell of amyl nitrate.
Poison, liquid medicine, but that which is lethal.
Medication was given to her in such a way that it would cause her to die.
But not suicide.
It could have been made to look like suicide.
Some pact or something was made on that day.
Church-based organisation where I keep getting the words Good Shepherd or Good Brothers acted in what they thought was the best interest at the time.
And it's an absolute mystery.
She has to move away, and she basically runs away with this fear of a man.
Subsequently, she returned to the asylum as a voluntary boarder because she couldn't bear to live with her father.
Her father carried a secret, and she knew, and she carries a secret as well. I think it was a burden to carry that secret though.
Well, I'd really like to know what they were doing to my grandmother and others while they were in the asylum, and obviously particularly my grandmother. And then what really happened on that Christmas Day in 1902 when she found her mother dead in the bath in her nightdress.
To try and answer these questions, the investigation moves to Scotland, TJ has travelled to Napier University in Edinburgh, formerly part of the Royal Edinburgh Lunatic Asylum.
I don't have any knowledge of why I'm here today, other than it's very important for Vanessa and her family that I connect here with somebody for them. And as I arrived, I was starting to feel very nauseous, very agitated, and almost like I'm going to start wittering, as if my thoughts are going to be tumbled too fast for my mind to process them. I've also got a real sort of sense in my stomach area, almost like, the way I want to put it is like the old ways it would be known as woman's problems and things like that. There's some sort of connection here of having a lot of pain in the stomach area.
I feel as though there's something wrong with my stomach or something across my stomach.
There's a definite sense of, it's almost like being made to feel as if you're going out of your mind because you're having problems in your body. But if I go back to that time, I feel stuck. It's almost putting a bandage on a huge, no. It's like putting a sticking plaster on a huge wound. You know, it's almost like there. That's how I feel it. It's a place to be able to escape. It's a place to not have to think, yet you're encouraged to think all the time. That's so confusing in my mind. I don't understand it at all. Right, there's a very elegant lady that's just joining me, and I feel like I want to rock with her energy. This lady is from 2 generations above Vanessa, not 1 generation above. In my mind, she's drawing my focus to the trees that are here, and I can see the family tree in my mind. There seems to be 2 families that are connected, but then connect again. And there seems to be a collapse of a family unit.
It's like a feeling that 4 people have been scattered like the 4 winds.
And I feel what we would term maybe nowadays as a not a serious form of depression, I don't feel, but there is certainly a depression feeling with my lady.
She makes me feel very sad when I look into her eyes.
But it's not as simple as she's depressed, that's why she's here. It's not as simple as that.
A sense of wasted life that's young and vibrant. That's my feeling.
This lady's very eloquent. She would have written, you know, there's a real sort of artistic or creative energy.
To my surprise, she'd gone to art college.
And I'm trying to find out the purpose of her being here. And I just feel like being put away.
Her father carried a secret, and she knew, and she carries a secret as well.
It's somewhere safe for her to be, somewhere for her not to be able to express her thoughts and feelings as well. I almost feel like she's got to keep quiet.
This lady wrote hundreds of letters.
They didn't get sent.
In my mind, all I'm trying to ask, or the words that are coming into my mind, are what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong?
I also feel there was accusations made that she would have felt were unjust or unfair.
And it feels like I've got my hands tied and I don't have any say, I don't have any control.
It's not just because they're violent, it's also because they've got a hold over her.
I just keep feeling like they're trying to silence her, they're trying to keep her quiet.
Coming up, TJ comes close to madness as she enters the asylum.
I just get this sense of all the faces looking out of the window at me.
The investigation branches off as Tony looks beyond the family tree.
There may well have been a sexual relationship between George and his daughter.
The psychic private eyes are investigating Vanessa Goldie-Scott's family mystery, the banishing of her grandmother Evelyn to a lunatic asylum, and the mysterious death of her great-grandmother in the bath on Christmas morning.
Medication was given to her in such a way that it would cause her to die.
TJ continues her investigation at the Royal Edinburgh Asylum, the last place where Vanessa's grandmother Evelyn stayed as a psychiatric patient.
The architecture is absolutely stunning in here. It's beautiful, but I don't feel like that. It's just, it's a prison. When I was walking up the drive, I just get this sense of all the faces looking out of the window at me. All these lost people. It's almost like being called hysterical and you're not hysterical. I just get that sense, not necessarily from my lady, but other people that are here are, it's like convalescing from hysteria as well. That's how they see it. I feel like I want to sneer at it. You know when you get annoyed because people are talking down to you as well? It's like a cup of tea and a cake is not going to help. Nobody's listening. And there's just this spiral of the depression where there is nothing she can do about it, nothing at all. And that fight that would have been in her is just dissolved. It's got to be something to do with a child or some loss and some blame she's put away. And the word I do get is incestuous. It just feels wrong. Nobody wanted to read her words.
In London, Tony Stockwell is presented with a copy of Vanessa's family tree. Tony has never met with Vanessa and is completely unaware of TJ's investigation in Scotland. He draws the images that come into his mind and hopes to link closer to the past.
So I know that Vanessa is our contributor, and I know that Vanessa's grandmother is Evelyn, and I know just from looking here and tracing the family tree that Evelyn's father is George and her mother is Elizabeth. Obviously there's a connection between Elizabeth and George. George Michael also was a very, very religious man. It's not like a good religion though. It's not like he took the best of religion and made himself a better man from it. I know that he wielded religion like a tool for his own benefit in many ways. I know that Evelyn would have travelled away from her father and to flee him and to get away from him and not tell him where she was going and what she was doing because she feared her father and feared what her father would do. I feel something very wrong. I don't like it. I want to scribble everywhere. I don't like it. I feel like this whole relationship feels incredibly hostile to me, like I'm behind bars, like I'm trapped, like I keep doing this, like there's bars in front of me and I'm behind the bars and I can't get out, and I want to get out but I can't get out. And Evelyn and this man were connected in some way in a marriage. This is more of a marriage of, I say convenience is the wrong word really, but